Bits, welcome back to day 2 of our 5-chair challenge. I'm going to form this little number using some milk paint and some IOD stamps. I'm going to sort of create a little bit of a faux marble look on the top of this seat. But first off, we need to make sure that the chair is nice and clean, so I'm going to get busy prepping the piece by giving it a good clean down with Fusion TSP. Water here, warm water. I always like to use warm water, and I'm just going to pop in just a splash. These have all been sitting in our garage, and I think a couple of the other chairs have all been have been stored under the house, so they're pretty dusty and pretty grimy. So it's really important that when you are making over furniture that you do get rid of all of that grime or dust before you start painting, because otherwise you're just going to create, you're not going to have that nice clean canvas, as I've said before in the previous project, to start painting with. So I've just given that a little swoosh around, and I'm just going to go to town and start cleaning. And as you can see, it's pretty gross. But that's what happens day-to-day life. Furniture gets, stored away and or used or whatever, and it does get a lot of build-up, as I think I mentioned before yesterday. Okay, so while that's just drying, I'm just going to get mixing my milk paint. I have just got a jug of warm water here. And I'm going to be using today's Sweet Pickings Love Bug, which is a nice yellow, vintage yellow. So I'm just going to measure out 2 tablespoons of powder. Because the trick with milk paint is to always mix it up before you actually start painting. I normally mix it up before I prep, so that way it's all combining while I'm, TSPing. I'm just going to drop in 2 tablespoons of warm water, and then just taking a mixer, I'm just going to give that a really good mix. You want to get it to a consistency that it's sort of like melted ice cream. So it's kind of thick, but not too thick. And I'm going to be painting the top in Miss Mustard Seed Farmhouse White. I'm just using up the bits and pieces that I have lying around. So I'm going to put the white on the top of the chair and probably on the sides, just here where the skirt is, around the chair. And then I'll do the legs in the love bug. And the same again with the farmhouse white, but this time I'm only going to use 1 scoop, because I probably won't need as much to paint the top. So just 1 scoop of powder. And I also just wipe that before I pop that into my white, and then 1 of the warm water. And again, just mix. So as you can see, it's kind of like a bit on the thick, runny, and that means that it's nicely mixed. And I'm going to start off with the top, and as I'm thinking, as I'm mixing up my milk paint and I'm visualising how things are going to look, I think I'm actually going to just do, the top's just going to be the farmhouse white, and I will paint across here in the yellow. I think that'll look a little bit more cohesive. Okay, so I am not going to be sanding this. I'm not adding any bonding agent because there is a light little sheen to this, but I'm wanting that sort of chippy look. So see how we go. I'm going to start off with the farmhouse white, and then I will tape it off around here with painter's tape so that I don't obviously then get the yellow onto the white. Okay. So just using my good old trusty Klingon F30, I'm just going to start painting. Drying, I'm going to moving on to other parts of the chair. I'll see how I go. If you're not steady with your paintbrush, you're probably better off to wait until this is all complete, that top's actually completely dry, and then painting it off, taping it off. But I'm just going to go ahead and start giving it a coat of the love bug, and hopefully I've got a steady hand today. Another thing too is to check when you are painting these older sort of pieces of furniture, is always to just check and make sure you're not getting any bleed through. If I was starting to see any of the tannins of the wood come through, I would completely stop what I'm doing now, and then I would give this whole entire piece a coat of bin sealer to stop that bleed through coming through. But it's looking pretty good at the moment, but I will keep an eye out obviously as it's drying. That's now 2 coats of the farmhouse white, sorry, 3 coats of the farmhouse white, and I've put on 2 coats of the love bug on the rest of the chair. So I'm going to start stamping the top now, and I'm just going to lightly sand back the top just to get a nice smooth canvas so that we can start stamping the Carrara stamp. So that's now all ready for our next step, and all I'm going to use is the Fusion Pebble, and I'm going to use the IOD Carrara stamp, which comes like this. Sorry, I've already pulled this one off. When you first get your stamps, they are a little bit tricky to pull off, but you can be fairly rough with them because they are stretchable. Okay, so I'm just going to pull off a few strands of that, and maybe just even a small one. Like so. Okay, and just out on a piece of old card, or a piece of transfer film, a plate, whatever it is that you're going to use. I'm just using the insert from the stamp. I'm just going to pop out a little bit of the pebble onto the that'll probably be enough. And then I'm also going to use, just to keep the paint open a little bit so we can play around with the stamping, I'm going to use some clear glaze, which is basically going to keep the paint open a little bit longer so that we can play around with the stamping. Okay, so I'm just going to spoon out about the same amount of the glaze, and I'm just going to mix that in. And then just using my brayer, I'm just going to pull some of that paint out, and I'm going to load it up like so. Okay, just pop this down to one side. And then taking one of the stamps, I wouldn't generally do this on the piece that I'm working on, but I wanted to be able to do this up close so you guys could actually see what I'm doing. So just running my brayer over the entire stamp. Like so. And then I'm just going to pick the stamp up and flip it. Oops, sorry, just doinked the camera. I'm just going to drop the stamp down and push down, making sure that I've always got one hand on the stamp, and then pull up. And you can sort of see that sort of marble kind of effect. Okay, so now taking a damp Chuck's cloth, I'm just going to lightly dab on the stamp, and this is going to kind of like give the stamp sort of like a mottled look. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'm going to probably go maybe even a little bit darker just to sort of bring it out a little bit more. I might add a little bit of ash to this mixture that I've already got here, just so that I can highlight that marbling effect a little bit more. I've added ash to the paint, and I'm just giving it, it's only just like a little smidgen, and I'm just going to stir that all in. Okay, so what I've done is I've just popped out some Fusion Prairie Sunset, and I've just added in some of the clear glaze. And what I'm going to do is just add a little... Okay, sorry guys, the video cut out without me realising. So I was in the middle of telling you that basically all I did was mix in the Prairie Sunset with a little bit of the clear glaze. And then I just used the thinnest vein on the marble set, and I just went back over where I've been, and using a damp cloth I just did the same process as I did with the other two colours. So that's just drying now, and then I'm going to come along with some sandpaper, 120 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to start distressing the rest of the chair. Okay, so I've just moved outside because milk paint is quite powdery when you distress, and it's a beautiful rainy day. We haven't had rain out here for ever, and it's definitely filling up our water tank, so this is awesome. So hopefully you can hear me over the raindrops. So I'm just going over using a sanding block and 120 grit. I'm just going to totally distress the rest of the chair. I'm just going to leave the top as is, and then I'll come along with a clear wax, or maybe even I might even antique it yet, I'm not sure. I'll see what it looks like when I finished distressing. Back, and I'm happy with the distress look. I'm going to go to town with my beeswax. I'm just going to use Miss Mustard Seed beeswax because that's what I've got on hand, and I'm just going to finish the chair. Completes our second chair for our 5-chair challenge. I hope you've enjoyed this little technique with a bit of distressing, a little bit of marbling using a stamp. I apologise again that the video cut out when I was applying the Prairie Sunset vein, but it's the same process as what it was when I was applying the grey tones. It's just a matter of sort of layering it. Anyway, I'll be sure to leave all of the links below with all the products that I used, along with the blog tutorial, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another fun chair tutorial. Bye for now.